Oh, the weather's cleared up a bit. We've had a lot of rain lately, and I'm going to use the break in the weather to fit the new bonnet. This is part of the big Maestro stash that Peter provided for the cause, and the bonnet that he's provided is actually better than this one in some ways. The paint on this one's better, but the paint on the other one will recover. And one of the biggest issues on this bonnet is this big sharp dent. It's also got quite a bit of filler in this corner, some of which has started to fall off. It's had a bit of a bump on this corner in the past, and I noticed after polishing everything that you can just see the line on the corner of the bonnet where they've blended it in, but the more I've been using the car, the more this rust is appearing and this filler's dropping off. The other issue is when you come down alongside the wing, the bonnet and the wing should follow the same line, and it's low back here quite a bit, and as you go down you can see there's a bend here which then disappears, and the bonnet seems a bit short for the wing, so this whole bonnet is twisted and bent, which is why I want to replace it. I do have a wing to go on here as well, also courtesy of Peter, but I'm not doing that today because to do that I need to address things like the bumper corner, straighten out the damage on the front bumper bar. It's a bit more involved than I want to go, so just the bonnet today. So let's pop that open and see how easy this is to do on your own. Nice and simple underneath the bonnet on the Maestro. The only thing you need to disconnect is the pipework for the washer jets and 2 bolts either side on each hinge. It's a little bit fiddly to disconnect from this end. These springs are very weak, you can just do them with your hand. So you can just hear the washer bottle draining away. All I've done is I've disconnected this from the washer bottle, and I'll reconnect it once I've got this off. These bolts are just 10mm. I've just used a bit of ordinary cardboard box, folded it so when this drops it's not going to damage the paint, it's just going to hit the cardboard. Now that the hinges are disconnected, you can see the bonnet corners are just resting on the cardboard, and the only thing holding it up now is the bonnet prop. Maestro bonnets are very light. You just pop that out. And lift it free. Now, we'll also take the bolts out of this one, which I thought I'd already done. So if you start by lining it up roughly where you want it, it makes it easier to lift the whole thing. Like so. And you raise the hinges. This is where it gets a little bit fiddly, because getting your first bolt in is always tricky. Go. with your first 2 bolts in. I've done the top ones first, they're a little bit easier, you've got a bit more wiggle room. We'll then go and do the bottom ones. You don't want to tighten these all the way up. When it comes to alignment as well, you've got sort of like an unpainted mark, and this is where from the factory everything was bolted together and painted afterwards. So that does help you a bit with initial alignment. Now, because this is a bonnet that didn't originally come on this car, you might find the alignment is off, and your adjustment on this one is in the 2 bolts on each hinge. That one looks like it's too far forwards, but before I change anything or tighten anything up, I'm actually going to close the bonnet and see where it sits, and then I'll see how square it is in the actual hole before I decide what I'm going to move about. Oh, and I'll take the cardboard out too. Removing these is fairly easy. This is the back of the original bonnet. These just pull straight off. I've already pulled this one off, that's why that came off easy. And there's just the nubbin in there, and you literally push on that and the washer jet just comes out. So that's nice and easy. Thankfully no need to reroute any of this. I've already pushed that one on, so I've not got to figure out how this all goes back in here. You just figure out which hole it is that the washer jet's in, which is this one. And then just ease the pipe back on the barb. Like so. Reconnect it at the bottle. Go. And it goes around behind the bottle so that it keeps this nice and tidy. Ease the spring clip in place and you're done. Next job, test the washers. Because these are going to be misaligned. Or maybe they'll be perfectly fine and I don't need to do anything, which is always a bit of a bonus. So if you've got a small car like this with a very light bonnet, it's very easy to do it on your own. You don't need a second pair of hands. You just have to take a bit of time, a bit of care. Don't forget your squares of cardboard, because that'll stop you damaging the paint. In fact, to show you why, here we go. So on that one, can you see the little dents? That's where it would have normally kind of bounced off bits of your car, bits of your paint, and the paint on this car is quite brittle. And it also means that when you're shuffling it around and it starts really gouging into the cardboard, it doesn't damage anything. This bonnet is not perfect. It has different problems. There's a big shallow dent here, and there's another one over here. But they're a bit easier to fix. You can also see the paintwork's just a little bit scratched, a little bit scuffed. but it's not too bad. This will mostly, I think, polish out. The important thing is there's no filler in it. So this corner here, for example, it's not all bent and missing paint. It's nice and clean. The really amazing thing is the bonnet seems to be the same colour as the car, which is Targa red. I say seems to be because it's dirty at the moment, so it might actually be a different colour. It looks very different on camera actually, but it's a red, it's close enough. So it might be the other Targa red that they did. They did two. The important thing is the line doesn't rise up. If anything, the problem I've got here is this wing. It starts off about right here, but it seems quite high in that point and then dips down a lot. And I think that's related to whatever the bump was it had on this corner. I think this wing is slightly deformed, possibly pushed in a bit. There's some panel beating down there. So I think when I get the replacement wing on that hasn't been damaged, I'll know exactly what's going off with this one, and I'll see what's underneath. I don't think it's anything serious. I think it's just minor panel misalignment. When you go over to this side, it's, you know, it's much, much better. Again though, there's a little bit of a lift at the front. So this bonnet is, I think this bonnet is ever so slightly curved this way, but not so much that it's going to cause a problem. I think it's had something heavy on the middle in storage, just bowed a tiny bit. But this sort of thing, that can be dealt with very easily just by tweaking it. You've got to remember this is a very, very lightweight panel. It's very easy to deform, and I think that's all that's happened. So when I've got the other bits on the front, I will tweak and correct and fix that. But I'm much happier with that one. When I've given it a good clean and a polish, I think that'll look fine. Give you a better look on this one, and you can see this is the corner that was pushed down. You can see where the metal's split, and they'd covered that with some filler. It's fairly standard repair. There's not really a huge amount of rust in this bonnet. It's overall, it's in reasonable shape. You could certainly reuse it. In this instance, it was just easier to put a different bonnet on it. And I mean, this one as well didn't really show up. I didn't really notice it until just now when I just walked past, but the leading edge of this bonnet actually matches this grille much nicer than the old one did, so maybe the front edge of the old one's squished in a bit as well. One thing that's been annoying me with this car for a while is the front washer jets work fine, all the wipers work fine, I can hear the pump running for the rear wipers, but I'm getting nothing out of the rear jet. On the Maestro, at least on this version, you have an enormous screen washer bottle. This one is for your front washer jets. Pipe goes round here, behind the bottle, up into the bonnet. This one is your rear washer jet that runs inside the car somewhere, up into the headlining, down the driver's side, and out into the tailgate. So I can hear this pump running, and one of the things on the line, which may or may not have been original, is a non-return valve. It does make a lot of sense. It's quite a long route. You don't need to be pressing the button forever to get water to the back. Unfortunately, this non-return valve was not letting water through in either direction. And when I tried to unplug it, the end snapped off. And I don't have a spare. Fortunately, there was enough pipe here to reconnect, which is what I've done after a bit of a struggle, and I'm still getting nothing out of the back. I'll just press the button so you can hear and see what it's doing this end. The pump is running perfectly fine, there doesn't seem to be any issues, and when the line was disconnected it was pumping water through as well, so I don't think there's a fault with the pump. So we went round the back. Here at the back of the Maestro you can see there's a little protected piece here. This is the washer line from the front, and this comes through the top of the roof line into the tailgate, and then it comes down, I think, this side driver's side and across to the washer jet on the back. I'm getting no water in the car, but what I am getting is a bit of a dribble back here at the washer jet. Now I've already loosened this off. I don't know if this is standard for Maestro or not. I can't remember what it was like on the other ones I had, but this piece here is your washer jet, so you can screw and unscrew that to adjust the angle that it hits the screen. So I've already taken that off, and that one is nice and clear, there's no blockage in that. So your other block here is partly where I think the problem is, because you can see some of the gunge that is in that, and I think the whole line from the front of the car to the back is actually just full of gunge and algae. So I'm going to leave this unscrewed for now, and I'm going to run the pump and see if we can get it to just clean the line out without this in, and then I'll give this and the other part a proper clean to make sure these are clear as well, and then it should be working again. Oh, I'd say that flushed out whatever was in there. Look at all that. That's kind of gross. I've been sitting in here for about 5 minutes. You can see all these little black bits. That's what's come out. My camera's not very keen on the noise this ultrasonic cleaner makes, so I didn't bother filming any footage. These are all nice and cleaned out now, so I'm going to have to be a little careful putting them in, because these are brass going into what I think is cast aluminium. You just have to be a bit careful of the threads. Use just a little bit of WD-40 just to help. Maybe just the angle just a tiny bit there. Let's try it with the wiper down and see if I'm going to be able to get a decent screen wipe on this finally. I'd say that was a success. I'm more than happy with that. That's a less than ideal amount of time for the water to get to the back of the car. And I'll show you what that problem is. Now the problem isn't the washer fluid, there's still some left in there. And it's not a blocked line or a split line, but there is something missing. This is the one that goes to the back of the car, and this is the one for the front. This one doesn't go very far, so it has no return valve, or rather no non-return valve on it. This one normally does. When I was going through trying to find out why the rear screen wash didn't work, I removed this and found there was no flow in either direction. and in the attempt to get the pipe off, one of the nubbins snapped clean off. But that valve appears to be completely blocked and no longer working, so I'm going to install this one. It's much slimmer, it just pushes into the line, so I just need to chop the line in half, put this in the right way round, and then I shouldn't have that issue with it taking so long per wash to get on the rear screen. All connected, and I've primed it this time as well, because you couldn't prime it before, the fluid just returned straight to the front. So let's see how much of an improvement that is on what we were doing before. I'd say that's fixed.